I'm in the village of Nuevo Paraíso, and I taught this morning a story about the Good Samaritan. And going into this, I wrote out the story. Many of you know I love to tell stories. It's a primary way that I like to teach here in the jungle because they're oral learning people groups. If you've heard me say it before, I've probably said it 1,000 times, 70% of the world are considered to be oral learning people groups, oral learning peoples. And even in the United States alone, over 60% are considered oral learners. And so storytelling is important to me, and it's important to them, and they learn well with it. Well, I wrote out the story of the Good Samaritan and then talked the story over with them to change a few terms. And so we changed, those terms, like from Jerusalem to Jericho. He was on a path from Jerusalem to Jericho, and we changed those terms to Nuevo Paraíso to Dos Unidos, two places about 2 hours apart. We changed different things like the priest. We changed that to be a pastor because they understand that they have pastors here. They don't have priests here. They didn't understand Levite. We talked about that a lot. They didn't understand what that was, but they changed it to missionary. And so it didn't change the meaning at all to the passage. It's just very interesting because I'm here teaching this, and they chose a missionary for that, which I was all for. And then the last one, instead of a Samaritan, I talked to them about maybe historically, were there any people that were in opposition to the Shipibo people group, anybody that fought with them in history? And there was a people group called the Shipibo people group, which then later changed their name to Huni Queen. And so we had a Huni Queen as the Samaritan. And even in the story about, the Good Samaritan putting this man on his donkey, they don't have donkeys here, we're in the jungle. And so they chose to use a motocar, which is, like a rickshaw, people would say it, like a motorcycle with a back seat on it and 2 wheels. And so a motocar, and so we did that, and then we acted it out. They absolutely loved doing the drama. Of course, it's all in Spanish. They later translated it into Shipibo as well, so they could have that. But they acted it out on this path, exactly where I'm at right now. I'm on this path right outside the Institute. And so we came out here and acted it out. And I know it's simple, it's kids could do it or whatever, but they loved it. They loved it. And so we went back in to the classroom here on the Institute and talked about this and really got into detail about what it is to love your neighbor. Now, the biggest example of this week, making it personal to them, was the fact that one of the pastors here, one of the ones that you saw in this video, his 26-year-old daughter died 2 days ago here in this village. She got sick a few months ago. The doctors at the hospital, just thought they knew what medicine to give her, didn't really investigate to check symptoms to get a correct diagnosis. They gave her the medicine. Well, then she started having complications with her baby. She was pregnant, and 4 months along, her baby died. And they now say that it was probably because of the medicine. Well, she wasn't getting any better. She wasn't getting any better, and he was here studying at the Institute. We're just, 15 minutes walking. And she called and said, "Hey, can I see you?" He said, "Can I see you later today?" He goes, "Oh, of course. I'm just gonna go study and I'll be right back. Is that fine?" She said, Yeah. Well, by the time he got there, her arms from her elbows down and all her legs were all cold and stiff already, but she was still alive. She held on just long enough to see her dad, and then she drew her last breath right then and there. That was a tough day. It's still tough 2 days later. And for those of you who have gone through that, I can't imagine God's plan was to ever have parents bury their children. But some of you understand what that means and what that's like. And he's experiencing it. One of his other daughters is here with him studying, and so she's going through it as well. It was interesting. I went yesterday morning, sitting there just for moral support, just to be there with them, and the mother and the grandfather are sitting at the bench with the cadaver, the girl's dead, lying on a table. They've got her covered with a blanket, and then right beside, they are building the casket, which is so normal here. And then after that, they went all together as a community out there to bury the girl. Well, it's been hard, but this community and all of us gathered around him and have helped him and basically carried him along the way. And so, prime example of loving your neighbor. Well, we also talked about other examples. You don't have to get something so extreme to love your neighbor. Nothing huge has to happen in our lives for us to fulfill this passage. But that's an example of a big thing. And then we also, each student, each person gave examples of small things that we can do daily to love our neighbors. Well, then we go back and I tell them, I said, all right, I'm gonna give you an option. You can either, we're gonna talk about this story and repeat it over and over again like I usually do, and you can memorize it as normal. Or you can write a song. I didn't know if their culture it permitted or was used to writing songs about things. So I asked them about it, and there's only one song they really talked about. And in the Shipibo language, they came up with a song years and years ago about the creation story. They call it the Genesis song. And so I said, okay, well, here's what you can do. You guys choose. Now I had my preference on which I wanted them to do, but I didn't tell them. I said, here's your preference. You do what you want to do, but here are your two options. You either memorize the story word for word and quote it, or you collectively write a song about it. And they chose to write the song, which I was so happy for. That's what I wanted. And so they did that. They're perfecting it now, actually, as I speak. But they wrote that song, and they're actually going to sing it at the closing for the Bible Institute for this month in about 2 weeks. They're also going to do the drama that you saw a little while ago. But let me just share with you real quick what the song was like. It's in Shipibo, so even if you speak Spanish, you won't understand it. But let me just share the song with you. Wow. This is the type of song that they can take, and I challenge them to do so, to take back to their churches and all their own communities and to teach the communities this song. And they are excited about it. If we story tell the Bible, all these stories, and they write songs or do dramas or even just quote the story and start telling everybody in their villages about this, that's how the gospel is reproduced. That's how the gospel is going to get preached to the natives through the natives. That's our goal. We're here to train pastors, native pastors, so they can reach their own people. And so that's what they're doing. And so I just wanted to give you this update to share with you about this time we had this week. So incredible. And just to be able to see what's happening now, I'm looking forward to the future to see how it's going to affect people in the future as well.